I can't believe some people are saying that It Welcome to Derry episode 3 wasn't good when we had all of those insane teases that Pennywise is coming, and so are we. Pennywise gotta change his name to Pettywise the way he be torturing these poor kids. That's the president of the Fuck Them Kids Club. But not only did this episode give us some pretty insane reveals, it also did a great job at laying the groundwork for what's to come in the future. This episode was really crazy, scary, spooky, not so hilarious, and I'm gonna be recapping and reviewing the episode with spoilers. So if you don't want to be spoiled, make sure you drop a like and follow, but come back after because I do want to hear your thoughts. But either way, me and you know what we gotta do. We gotta talk about it. So we pick up this episode with a flashback to Derry in 1908. Francis Shaw is his kid's name, and a fucked up 10-minute cold open is the game. As we follow a young Francis Shaw at a carnival, he looks over and we see a very familiar looking figure with some balloons. But that's when he enters the freak show and we get a nice little Andy Muschietti cameo. But he sees everything from conjoined twins to a hairy man. But it's not until he gets scared as fuck by the one-eyed monster man he decides to leave. But we learn something. He's scared of this motherfucker. But as he leaves the freak show, he runs into his dad, who you could tell is a dick. He's like, man, you better not be no damn pussy being scared of stuff in there. Let's get the fuck out of here. But I did get you a slingshot. You're my son. As it turns out, that clown with the balloons is just Padme. Is that Pennywise's mom? But on their way home, Francis and his dad's car breaks down. So he tells him it's gonna be a while. Go buy some water from that stand over there from those native kids. The water ends up being 5 cents and he's a little short. But he locks eyes with this young Native American girl and all he could hear was, "Can you feel the love tonight?" As he gives her slingshot and becomes really close friends. We pick up with him playing around in a field as he goes into a forest. The little Native American girl says, "No, don't go over there." As he starts looking around, he sees that same fucking one-eyed old man popping out from trees. Only that ain't an old man. That is Pennywise, a demon. That ain't the big friendly giant. As it looks like Pennywise got poor Francis dead to rights, the little girl does her best Katniss Everdeen fucking impression and slingshots a rock right through his eye. As the blood starts floating in the sky, they run the fuck away. But as Pennywise lunges in for a bite, it cuts to black and I was like, no! But that's when we pick back up in 1962 with Lily's mom going to visit her at the madhouse. You know, she's basically been doing a lot better and she becomes really close friends with this nurse. And she asks her like, you know, I don't think anyone's gonna believe me if I tell them like what I actually saw. I'll just end up back here. But it's in this conversation that Lily gets the strength to do the right fucking thing. She feels horrible for what happened to Ronnie's dad and she's like, I got nothing else to lose, might as well try. As the nurse gives her back her bracelet, this is important because we got Maturin's little turtle chain on here that's probably keeping her safe. That's when we cut to Ronnie's dad in jail, getting this guy doing the good cop and then bad cop treatment. The cop is essentially just trying to get Ronnie's dad to admit that he killed those kids. Ronnie's dad's like, I didn't do that shit. I wasn't even there. So the cop says, all right, enjoy Shawshank. No redemption though. As we cut to Ronnie going to school, of course, these fucking kids, right? Hatchet Hank's gonna fry on her fucking locker. As poor Ronnie tries to clean it up, it looks like she has literal blood on her hands. And I just feel so bad for her. Like all of these kid actors are killing it. But I did love the moment between Mike and Rich. Rich tells Mike, there ain't no way they can convict him without any proof, right? And Mike says, do you know what country you live in? Oh no, that's a bar. That's when Lily pulls up on Ronnie cleaning her hands in the bathroom and she tells her like, I'm gonna try to do whatever I can. I know you hate me right now, but trust me, I'm tired of running away. I don't care if they send me back. I have an idea. We're gonna take a picture of this thing and then we'll have proof that I was telling the truth. That way I don't go back to the nut house and your dad gets out scot-free. So she's like, we don't even know how to develop film. How are we gonna do that? Then Ronnie says, I think I know someone. So we pick back up with Shaw in the military talking about the vehicle they uncovered. Turns out it was a part of the Bradley gang massacre, as they think this massacre probably had the entity in one of its forms. That's when Shaw says, all right, we need to get Holleran up into the sky and have him hold on to an artifact that the entity has come in contact with. And that's when Dick Holleran gets the assignment, when Russo and Leroy Hanlon get the assignment to take him up into a helicopter because he's basically a human compass. As he gets handed over these pack of cigars. He's up in the sky, Hanlon asks him, what are those cigars about? And he's like, oh, you wouldn't even understand it. As he opens the box, we see the same slingshot that Shaw had in the opening scene. And as Dick Holleran holds on to it, he's like able to focus and know where to go, and he tells him to go east. That's when we find out that the Native American girl that Shaw became friends with is actually Rose, who owns that antique shop in Derry. He learned that this is her nephew. As they attend this council meeting of other Native Americans because they're worried that the military is digging up sacred Indian burial grounds. One, they want to know what's going on, and two, she says we should do a cease and desist. Picking back up with my Dick, he starts getting a crazy vision while he's up in the air and actually stumbles upon Pennywise in some sewer. As the door opens for Pennywise, he says, who are you? And as Dick Holleran looks up, he says, you'll float too. He looks up, he says, Grandma? She says, you're dead. And he tries to fucking leave, try to open up the door out of the sewer, but in actuality, he almost jumps out of the damn helicopter. Luckily, Leroy saves him as they fly back to base. That's when Shaw pulls up on Holler and says, you did a great job up there. Anything you need at all, just let me know. That's when he tells him that we could use a new place to chill and hang out where water won't fall on us. But also he says, Shaw, before you leave, I don't think that thing was supposed to see us. I got a really bad feeling about this. Shaw just says, rest up. And it turns out Ronnie goes to Will because he's so smart when they were in detention together. She's like, I bet you know how to develop some film. And Rich is like, do you really believe her? And Will's like, I believe that she believes it. And that's when Shaw pulls up on Rose in her antique shop and says, what's up? Because if you remember, the adults, after they encounter Pennywise, they kind of have amnesia and they forget things. And he's like, I hope you didn't forget me. As he says, well, the only reason I remembered you is because I got this cease and desist from Rose, and then I remembered who you were. But he doesn't tell her the truth, and he says they're just laying pipe to try to get water or whatever the fuck. When in actuality, he should probably just tell her what the fuck is going on. She probably knows what to do. But we cut back to our new mini little losers club. As they go up to the hideout, Rich says, it sounds like it's probably a demon. You know, my uncle told me, like, you know, you could probably just do like a little seance, do some prayers, and we could probably summon this demon and get a picture of it. While that's happening, Dick Halloran goes to the Hanlon house, has some dinner. We learn some more stuff about Leroy's wife and how she's an activist. She's also very distracting. That is a beautiful woman. As the kids go to a graveyard to do their little seance, we get a very interesting conversation between Leroy and Dick, where Leroy reveals to Dick that he knows that he was in the room when he got beat up by all those masked people, because he got the same feeling when he was up in the sky that he got that night. That's when Dick tells him, look, I'm not gonna fuck with you, because normally when I read people and they're faced with death, they go through a process of their regrets, all their loved ones. But you were still analyzing, thinking. There was no fear in you. So trust me, I know you're not the type of man to fuck with. And back at the graveyard, Rich just keeps doing Santa Maria Madre de Dios over and over again. And they're like, why do you keep saying that? And he's like, well, my cousin told me what my uncle said. And they're like, you said you knew what your uncle did. And they're like, I don't know. Man, this mumbo jumbo shit. Ronnie gets pissed and just bikes away, and Lily chases after her. Of course, Pennywise is watching. He's always watching. And that's when all the dead kids pull up looking like the fucking ride from Haunted Mansion. It's actually kind of a funny scene. Like, I actually kind of want to ride this roller coaster, but the kids are taking pictures and they kind of like relay race the camera. They keep dropping it. Another kid picks it up, takes another picture. And that's when it looks like the camera's gone for good. But Will finds it, but not before he crashes by this crypt. And of course, he enters the crypt and we see a hand of a glove. You know who that is? All we see is a white flash, and we assume that Will takes a picture, but they don't know if he made it out alive, as they're just like, Will, no! Thankfully, he comes out and they share a nice, beautiful hug, and they all give a little group hug together. And I just love these kids now, man. If anything happens to them, Andy Muschietti, I'm gonna be in your walls. But that's when they decide to go sneak into DERRY High School to get those damn photos developed. It starts working. They actually got pictures of all the kids. That's when Will says, oh, this is the picture I took in the crypt. As they look at it, they're like, what is that? Will just says, it looks like a clown, as we cut to black. You know, I kind of understand why some people would feel like not much happened this episode. I mean, in terms of like the scares and shit, it was still pretty scary. We got a couple of great scenes. Look at this shit down here. But y'all gotta realize, this is a television show. They need to lay groundwork and set up storylines and character work for it all to pay off down the line. They're doing a great job of that. I feel like that's what this episode really did in exploring and expanding the lore. We learned more about Shaw. We learned more about Rose. We learned even more about Dick, Leroy, all the damn kids. Plus, now I love these kids even more. So if they ever do bite the dust, it's gonna hit emotionally. Plus, on top of all of that, I'm actually really impressed with the blocking and the lighting of this show. I really love the way these shots are framed. The composition is mwah. And all I can say is I'm loving it. Welcome to DERRY. I thought episode 3 was another solid one, but I'm curious to hear your thoughts. What did you think about episode 3? My thoughts and opinions. Drop a comment down below, and as always, like and follow for more, because you'll float too.